Hello, amazing Region 2 flute players. This is a informative video to hopefully help you out a little bit with both of the Region etudes for this year, for 2020. Kind of an unusual year for sure, but nonetheless, great musicianship and great fluting is always a wonderful thing no matter what. So this particular video is going to be focused on what we call the Lyrical Etude or the Slow Etude. I have recorded this particular work in 3 different tempos for you at the end of this tutorial, metronome markings 68, 78, and 88. So I've already started the score preparation. As you can see, I've put breath marks in red. These breath marks are a little bit harder in the 68 tempo than they are in the 78 or the 88 tempo, for obvious reasons. A little bit faster means that you can get more beats in with the phrase. So taking a look at the important elements right now, notes, rhythms most especially, articulations, dynamics, and of course breath marks. I would go through and perhaps highlight or indicate certain dynamics in your music. So for example, it seems to be that this particular composer likes to use a lot of very spread out dynamic changes. So what I like to do sometimes in my music is he's starting with a mezzo forte in the very beginning with a crescendo, and I like to know where my crescendo is going. So I'm going to write a forte in measure 3, and then the diminuendo looks like it moves through to the mezzo piano. So that means that you would take the pickup into 5, yet again mezzo piano, and he doesn't really have a dynamic goal. So if this is starting mezzo piano, this is an awfully long phrase. So I would say maybe a mezzo forte, maybe even a mezzo forte plus prior to decrescendoing, maybe even a forte. I think it really depends on your tempo. And then he's starting, he's got a decrescendo, and it's hard to tell here whether he wants a subito dynamic, or if this dynamic is starting from a different spot. It's a little bit hard to tell in here. So what I usually like to do is I like to make an educated guess. So if we go back, and maybe we make this area, rather than mezzo forte, maybe a forte, and then maybe a decrescendo to that mezzo forte. This could certainly change. And then it looks like he's holding through with this mezzo forte. Sometimes I like to put dashes in my music just to remind me of where I am. Perhaps start this crescendo mezzo forte, and this is a good idea here for forte, maybe remarking this forte, staying constant with that forte, and then it looks like he's taking you to piano, pick up to measure 17. And then I usually would remind myself of a piano. Looks like this is a small dynamic change here, yet again starting at mezzo piano, crescendoing, very large crescendo, and this one's pretty easy to see, arriving at a forte measure 21, decrescendo to a mezzo forte. You have a ritardando, which means that you're going to slow down, but maintain that mezzo forte, and then ending with the piano. So a couple of the words that I used, ritardando is to gradually slow down. And then I used the word subito. Subito means suddenly. So it could be a sudden change of tempo, it could be a sudden change of dynamics, it could be a sudden change of a metric unit, rhythms, articulations. Typically in this particular case we use the word subito to mean subito dynamics, so a sudden change of dynamic. So we just had that one little spot that we were questioning, and I'll put it in black. The area that we were questioning was this area right in here, mezzo forte down, forte down to mezzo forte, and then starting at measure 9 at a mezzo forte. So we'll have to see how that all develops. Breath marks are already written in here. There are a couple of possible places for other additional breath marks, but for now I think this is a good plan. Measure 23, I've written a breath mark in parentheses. What that means in my world is that that's a breath mark that you could take if you needed an emergency breath. It's not a terrible breath for sure, especially at a slower tempo, but you've really only played 4 notes, and the phrase really does move to measure 24. But just in case, that's really a breath mark you could take. Additionally, as I'm looking through this, it is a possibility that you could take a breath mark after the C natural, beat 3. That is a possibility. You do have a pattern that moves down and then a slur that starts. I'm not always a huge fan in taking breath marks in decrescendos or crescendos as they process through. I like taking breath marks at more standard areas where dynamics are kind of holding true. But it's not a horrible place to take a breath if needed. So, enjoy the performances. Like I said, I have 3 different performance tempos. It'll start with 68, then 78, then 88. I've utilized the metronome through all 3 of the performances, and you are certainly welcome to join me.